morning and welcome to Rising. We have a great show for you today. As always, I'm Amber Duke, back at the table today with Lindsey Granger.
What's going on? How are you?
Great to be with you again.
Is it like a Friday feeling today? You ready for the weekend?
I'm ready for the weekend. I'm sure all the viewers are too. We'll get there soon, but let's get to the news first. The FBI Director Kash Patel forcing out more of the Bureau's top senior officials. Among the high-profile individuals ousted are Brian Driscoll and Stephen Jensen. Driscoll was the FBI's acting director while Patel's nomination went through Congress. Today will be his last day on the job, and in a message he sent to his coworkers, he claimed he was given no cause for his termination. Jensen was an assistant director in charge of the Washington Field Office, which is the FBI's largest office, and several Republicans had criticized his appointment to the Bureau since he oversaw the domestic terrorism sector during the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot.
These are just a few of the major overhauls since Director Kash Patel took over the agency. Several senior officials have been pushed out and some agents even forced to take a polygraph test. The FBI Agents Association releasing a statement saying they're reviewing all legal options to defend its members. In that farewell note to colleagues, Driscoll saying, quote, "Our collective sacrifice for those we serve is and always will be worth it. I regret nothing. You are my heroes, and I remain in your debt." But among employees keeping their job in the Trump administration are Jared Wise. Body cam video released during his January 6th trial appears to show him berating police officers and yelling, "Kill him," while rioters attacked law enforcement. He is now a senior advisor for a revamped Justice Department.
The latest firings happening at the DOJ and the FBI, there have been about 100 plus officials terminated under the Trump administration thus far. I do think if it's confirmed that Jared Wise is on that videotape shouting to kill cops, then the administration should let him go. I do think it's important to point out why this other individual, Driscoll was fired from the FBI. In addition to what they called insubordination and refusing to turn over information about agents who had worked on the January 6 cases, a whistleblower, according to a report released by Chuck Grassley, senator on the Judiciary Committee, he had claimed that the Steele dossier was corroborated as true, had wiped a laptop that he was assigned to work on by Robert Mueller, then the special counsel, and apparently was accused of openly stating animosity toward Trump.
Part of it to me feels like a retaliation or a purge for people that are not Trump loyalists. And so we kind of want the FBI to be first putting Americans and America's safety first, right? That's the number one job, not being loyal to President Trump. And I think the internal firings also make the Republican Party look a little bit scattered. When you think about Kash Patel promoting some of the same individuals that now don't have a job, this is a fight that's happening within the party, not outside. Like, there's people that were promoted because they're doing such a good job by Kash Patel, someone who supports Trump blindly, and then, they're getting let go. I also think, senior agents who are responding to January 6th getting fired, it's kind of ridiculous when you think about it. This is not about politics. This is about democracy. Physically trying to attack the Capitol on January 6th to stop the certification of a democratic election is something that we should all be against. Left, right, or indifferent. It's not something that I think when you're sitting there watching what happened that day and watching the president's response and now kind of getting rid of all of their sentences and pardoning all those people. There definitely were people who were just there protesting civilly, which I support because I'm open for free speech. But then there were people who actually rioted and attacked the Capitol that also were pardoned. And when you think about the FBI's job, they are supposed to put our national security first. And I think it was a national security issue that day. So to retaliate to people that just responded in a civil manner like the FBI is supposed to, I think is the wrong move and sends the wrong message that the FBI should be politicized.
I believe that the FBI was already politicized before Trump came in. And the reason I say that is because when we're looking at the January 6 cases, I think the big issue that people had was not that individuals who had engaged in violence or other riotous actions were held accountable, but that they were held to a different standard from people who had engaged in similar behavior, but were on the left side of the political aisle. We did not see, for example, mass surveillance or arrests of people who were involved in the riots of the summer of 2020. And so to fast forward to January 6, 2021, and the FBI basically puts all of its resources, assigns hundreds, if not thousands of agents to work on those cases, people feel like justice was misapplied or applied in a politicized manner. We also saw under the Biden administration that the FBI was targeting traditional Catholics with a memo from the Richmond field office that we found out was actually much more widespread than originally known, insinuating that traditional Catholics could be domestic terrorists. They also were involved in the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping plot, where there were actually more FBI agents undercover or confidential informants involved in that plot than people who they were trying to target and entrap in that scheme. We also saw, of course, the classified documents case against Donald Trump, where his residence at Mar-a-Lago was raided by the FBI. Meanwhile, Joe Biden had classified documents in his garage and did not face the same level of accountability or justice that Trump had. And they also had bungled the Larry Nassar gymnastics case. So I think people have lost a lot of trust in the FBI for good reason. So I don't view this as politicization or loyalty to Trump, but getting rid of people who had actually already politicized the department in the other direction.
Well, I think just responding to, like, obviously, I think if there's any politicization of, I said this about the Supreme Court yesterday, or the FBI, then that's a problem for me. And I don't think that getting rid of the people that are contributing to that is an issue on either side. And when you comb through all the ways that the FBI has been used, let's say the last 2 decades, of course there's room for change. But I think for the same people and supporters that say they want to constantly drain the swamp and get rid of people trying to over-politicize these institutions that are making our country, or supposed to be making it a great place to live, then this should be a problem too, equally. And I think that that should be a fair, balanced perspective when you holding something to the fire from Biden's team and saying, I don't want the FBI using this way, but Trump can use it in this way. Like, he's actually looking at this and saying, these are people that I don't particularly like, my supporters don't particularly like, let's get rid of them, as opposed to providing real reasons, which is why the head of the FBI is kind of like confused the organization, saying, give us a reason why some of them were fired. You name one, but like there's several people that were fired, and some people are confused about why they lost their job for simply looking into January 6th, something that I think many people can agree we would hope doesn't happen, just like we would hope other people aren't looting when there's issues happening and incidents where they don't agree upon. So that's, because the treatment was mishandled, in your opinion, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't look into both of them.
I guess my issue is that if these individuals were at the FBI when it was politicized, then it's not politicization to get rid of those people.
Well, I think the whole organization is then politicized. How can you just individually pick who's the one doing it, right? These are people that were assigned a task and do their job, or looking into the rule of law and saying, this doesn't look right. People are storming the Capitol. People died. People are getting hurt. Let me look into this. Whether now the conversation was about whether they looked into it too much compared to other instances, but it's not the fact that they just completely blindly ignored it. So whether you think they overemphasize it is one thing, but they actually were doing their job by looking into it. And so that's like firing somebody for that and following a directive of a team is something that, to me, is taking the perspective or energy that you have for Biden or whoever was in charge at the top level at the time and saying now everybody's going to suffer because this should have never happened if I was president.
There are people who were simply following orders. In this case, this individual we're talking about not only was involved in the top levels of giving those orders, but also failed to turn over documentation around what the FBI was doing in regards to those investigations to his boss. I mean, that to me seems like a really clear-cut reason to get rid of somebody. If you are trying to shield information about your involvement in those cases, then you have no business being there.
And he was trying to shield it from President Trump or from whoever was asking?
From Kash Patel.
Got it. Well, I think that, that is obviously probably you have to answer to your supervisor, but right. I think at the same time, understanding this administration has had a history already in 6 months of political retaliation. That's something where it's like, well, I'm protecting my team. What do you need this information for? We were doing as directed. We were doing what we thought was the best for the country. And so I think it's going to be an endless conversation about how to move forward from January 6th and other incidents that the FBI is involved with.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Up next, President Trump set to announce a new census. More on that next.